Hello and welcome to Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Podar and with me as always is my co-anchor Pavitra Parekh. Let's begin with the markets today. And yes, markets are roaring. In fact, at the high point of the day at the moment, Nifty 50 just closed shy of the 18,000 level at the moment, 17,940 with over 100 points gain. As far as Sensex is concerned, after April, first time it touches 60,000 levels. So all looking good with 0.65% gain on both the indices. When it comes to the other pockets, Bank Nifty is the one which is underperforming with 0.3% gain, but still in the green zone and adding to the momentum. And when it comes to the mid cap, it is in line with the key indices with the same amount of gain. So therefore, the broader markets clearly participating in the euphoric market momentum as we are seeing 2 days in a row. Advanced decline ratio, market breadth looking strong at the moment. A handful of those companies or the heavyweights which are in the red come on my screen are Apollo Hospital, M&M, Coal India, Cipla, Maruti, to name a few. Pavitra.
Hi Nisha, good afternoon. So in addition to what you mentioned, you're really seeing this crude price impact play out. So a lot of the paint companies will be up on your screen. The IT pack is doing well. In addition to the larger names, take a look at some of the mid caps. So the likes of Persistent, you have something like a Birla Soft, Happiest Minds, all of these doing quite well. There you have it, the gains on your screen. The hotel stocks are really flying away today. So something like a Kamath Hotels, Royal Orchid, it's something that we saw play out yesterday as well. But today, once again, you're seeing good gains come through there. Auto is very split, while Hero and Eicher are doing well. You do have some stocks which are in the red as well. So something like an M&M, Bajaj, Maruti, these are all seeing some cuts. In terms of cues, it is the FOMC minutes that we're waiting for, and also the Iran nuclear deal will be closely watched. But let's now actually talk about the commodity space and a key macro tailwind for India. It is the crude prices which are near a 6-month low right now. So Manisha is here.
At a 6-month lows, you also mentioned about the Iran nuclear deal, and let me elaborate on that. That is going to be very closely watched at. It has been 18 months of negotiation on the Iran nuclear deal. The latest clearly has been that the European Union has presented a paper with Iran likes, and there are 3 major issues still remaining to be resolved, and that too needs to come in from the US side of it. Once that goes through, that would mean that the Iran oil supplies would also come into the market, and that could increase supplies by 1.3 million barrels per day, and that's exactly what the markets are reacting to in expectation of. The second important point clearly comes in from the kind of weak economic data that we have seen come in from China. So whether it has been about the retail sales data, factory numbers, or the fixed income, all of that came in on the weaker side, also putting pressure on crude prices. The US, New York, Empire State, when you look at the index there, manufacturing has come in the second weakest in the month of August. That seems to be weighing on as well. And then you have a statement from Saudi Aramco suggesting that if the government gives a go-ahead, then 12 million barrels per day of the maximum capacity is what Saudi Aramco is ready to hit. So that tells you that much of the supply concerns are ready to get out of the market. What the street is waiting for is the demand to rebound. Once that happens, you will see support. But at this point in time, higher supplies and lower prices is what we are seeing at.
All right, Manisha, thanks a lot for getting us all of the details on the crude price move. But with that, let's also bring you some important opinion. This comes in from Goldman Sachs on how the oil markets are positioned. Listen in.
Investors are also liquidating their positions. And why I call it irrational is you have prices going down and inventories go down. So bullish fundamentals with downward price action is not sustainable. This in dynamic, we have seen it before. You destock in anticipation of a recession, market gets really tight, and then you explode to the upside. I'd like to point out there's 3 reasons why investors don't want this space. 1, a history of really bad returns. They were nothing short than epic losses 2 years ago with negative oil prices. 2, the volatility is unbearable. Think about how many times we've round-tripped between $95 and $130 a barrel this year. And then 3, I would put ESG factors that discourage investors. So there's a lot of reasons why they're not in this space and they're beginning to shun it. And one of the big factors is just the volatility.
All right, crude prices coming down is a very good news, and that's probably a cue that the market is really taking note of today. But as crude prices fall and inflation also recedes, Indian bond prices have soared to a 2-week high, while the rupee has also erased some of the last week's losses. In fact, let's take it straight across to our colleague Lata Venkatesh, who's here with all the details on the macro data. Lata.
Well, the rally in the bond markets is also because they had a long 4-day holiday and they had to digest some very important news. For instance, the Friday CPI number, the Indian inflation number came in on Friday, and then there were 4 holidays, plus the steep fall in crude prices as well as US bond yield softening. So it's a bunch of positive news at 7.17. The bond yield is as low as it was on August 4th. And if it pierces this level, it goes to actually some April lows. The positive news, actually, the most important news is crude for the bond market. There's also a little bit of FPI buying. But there is a chatter around this FPI buying that Indian bonds may get included in the JPM index. And the gossip on this is that JPM put India on watch in September last or October last. And we've already been 1 year under watch. Chances are that, you can't summarily remove. They may agree to the inclusion, which may become effective probably next year. So that's also creating a bit of positivity around the bond markets. I mean, this is not something imminent, but there is so much of good news that people have started talking about this as well. The rupee market is also seeing a lot of cheer, and that's largely because of crude and the FPI flows. But there is also bunched up buying of dollars because of 4 days of holiday. So the gains are muted. Gains are also muted because the dollar index is up, which has made a lot of EM currencies a little in the red today. But because the rupee has to catch up, that's one of the few currencies that is in the green. Today, because of this negativity of some bunched up dollar buying and the dollar index being a little higher, you're not seeing a huge rally. But the expectation in the market is if the crude prices continue the way they are and FPI flows also continue, then not just 79 but 78.50 is likely to be reached.
All right, Lata, thanks a lot for filling us in with all of the details and taking us through the bond and rupee move. But with that, it's time for a short break on the show. As we do that, here's a quick reminder for our viewers. It is that time of the year again. Money Control Pro's financial freedom offer is back and with added benefits. So you can get a Money Control Pro subscription at net zero cost by claiming exciting offers worth 1,500 rupees from our partner brands. Grab the benefits only on the Money Control app or website. Back, you're still watching Business Lunch, and let's talk about some individual stock-specific action. Aarti Drugs is surging in trade. This after the DGTR recommends continuing anti-dumping duty on imports of the antibiotic from China. So Ekta is standing by to tell us more about this. Ekta?
Well, yes, Aarti Drugs is seeing a surge in trade. That's because the government has, in fact, recommended the continuation of an anti-dumping duty on ofloxacin imports from China. Now, remember that it basically is an API intermediate which is used to manufacture this particular antibiotic. And the API and intermediate is manufactured by Aarti Drugs. It's around 8 to 9% of their total sales. So it's definitely a shot in the arm that this particular company will benefit if in case there is an anti-dumping duty which is applicable for ofloxacin for a larger period of time. Now, just to give you a background, that there was already an anti-dumping duty on this particular API/intermediate, but what happened was that it had expired during 2020-2021, and after that the government reinitiated a probe to see whether or not the anti-dumping duty should be applicable going forward. After collecting the requisite information, the government has now, or the recommendation is that there should be an anti-dumping duty which should be applicable on this. Now, while prices had fallen for this particular antibiotic/API intermediate for it, it has stabilized at around 3,000 to 3,100 rupees per kg in the past couple of months. That's simply because it has also been impacted by the volatility that we've seen in raw material prices as well as input costs, and hence it has stabilized at these prices. So irrespective of that, the anti-dumping duty has been recommended, and going forward this should definitely provide some support to prices according to Aarti Drugs.
All right, thanks Ekta for that. And Aarti Drugs really roaring in trade today, almost 12% high in trade. LIC is the next stock in focus, and it is in the green, holding at that 700 per share level. Now, this insurance behemoth LIC reported, remember, the earnings yesterday with value of new business margins falling on changes in its product mix. Now, earlier today, we spoke with the management, Rajkumar, the managing director of LIC, and he said that they will stick to their VNB margin guidance and also expect solid growth in the non-par segment. Let's listen in.
The protection gap in India is at 83%. The penetration is just 3.2% of the GDP, and the density is at $59 US, which is comparatively low even with the many Asian countries standards also. So there is a lot of scope for the life insurance sector to grow. Yes, the targets which are given looks to be a little stiff, but we will be working towards that, to put all the strategy in place to see that we try to achieve those targets. We are looking at a longer horizon to reach the industry levels in the VNB margins also. Traditionally, we have been, for the last 2 decades, we were selling very heavily on the par side, and the non-par side is now in our focus area, and gradually we will be reaching the levels which industry levels are there. And we are keep giving a horizon of 4 to 5 years, which we have indicated during the road shows as well as earlier interactions as well.
All right, that is the LIC management. They have seen their VNB margins dip this time around on a change in the product mix, but they do hold their guidance of 20 to 25% for FY23. With that, let's move on and bring you an interesting conversation. State Bank of India launched its first branch dedicated to startups in Bengaluru. On the sidelines of the launch event, Ritu Singh spoke to Chairman Dinesh Kumar Khara and began by asking him about his perspective on the bank's decision to tread into the startup space given all of this macroeconomic uncertainty. So listen in to that chat.
The startups' source of funding from the equity will get dry up, then perhaps they need the one which are viable startups. They need money from the credible partners, and that's why here is the State Bank of India, which is not a fair weather friend, which is a friend for life. So that's why we are here, and we are looking at all such opportunities where the startups have got a viable business plan, and where they have got a plan which can generate revenue for many, many more years, which can offer solutions. I feel that there's going to be ample opportunities even going forward, because they are actually creating value for many large ecosystems also. So I think, to my mind, there is always a good opportunity. Whenever there is some kind of a turbulence in the market, it's the right time for steady players to come and ensure that the market stays stable.
Just a final question on the interest rate scenario, rising interest rates, and a bulk of the lending rates are already linked to an external benchmark. Is there any sort of impact on home buyers, people waiting on the fringes because of these rising interest rates? Is that demand getting impacted?
I have not seen the demand tapering off, and earlier also my impression is that if at all interest rate goes up marginally, then perhaps it may not have any significant impact on the demand for the homes, and the kind of trend which you have seen till now, it actually supports this belief which I have.
All right, India's largest bank, State Bank of India, looking to support with credit facilities to the startup world. Let's take you through the big earnings from Wall Street then, and Walmart topped the analyst expectations for earnings in the second quarter. Now, the company has also reiterated its forecast for the rest of the year. Now, remember that Walmart had cut its profit outlook in the month of July on the back of inflationary concerns. In fact, CNBC's Courtney Regan spoke to the company's CEO on the earnings, the impact of inflation, and much more. Listen in.
Yeah, we're making progress. As we shared after our first quarter results, we had too much inventory. We had it in the wrong places in some instances, and over the last few weeks and months, the team's done a great job of taking action and getting ourselves to a stronger position. It's a conflicting period in terms of the data. If you look at what's happening across categories and across income levels, inflation is having an impact, particularly for those that don't have as much money. So we see them behaving in different ways, but we're also attracting a lot of new customers to come to our stores, to our app, to our website. Higher income families are shopping at Walmart because they're so price sensitive right now. I think people are really price focused right now, regardless of income level. And the longer this lasts, the more that's going to be the case. Right around the middle of the first quarter is when we saw food inflation reach a level where behavior is starting to change. We're trying to keep prices as low as we can and still deliver for shareholders. We've got to balance both of those interests. Our purpose is to save people money and help them live better. That's what we want to do. We try to do that through margin mix.
All right, that is the CEO of Walmart saying that they are trying to keep prices low even as they are grappling with the impact of inflation. We do have to get into a short break now, but as we do that, let's hear out Praveer Sinha, MD and CEO at Tata Power, speaking on the company's goal of providing clean and green energy in India and how it is enabling people to make choices for a sustainable tomorrow.
You're watching Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18. Now let's turn our focus to some important developments from the sporting world. And this is an interesting one. In what could be relief for the soccer enthusiasts across the country, well, the centre has informed that it has managed to break ice with FIFA over its suspension of the All India Football Federation. Now, the Supreme Court has also allowed the time for discussions with FIFA, and my colleague Ashmit Kumar gets us all the action from the courtroom. And where does the matter stand? Ashmit.
Well, that again was the big question today, and that question was before the Apex Court, whether or not India will host the Under-17 Women's World Cup, the FIFA event, the big FIFA event, especially after FIFA had suspended the AIFF. And now what's important is that the centre today appeared before the top court, and the centre importantly clarified that the government, in fact, has already had 2 meetings with the management of FIFA, and quote-unquote, there was some breaking of ice is what the centre told the Supreme Court. In fact, the centre went on to say that discussions are currently underway, that all the relevant stakeholders are on board as a part of this discussion, this meeting and negotiation, and that it would not be an appropriate time at this stage to reveal any details, but that discussions are underway and that breakthroughs are gradually being made. Having said that, the centre also said that nobody should interfere with this process that government has undertaken with FIFA, and that this is a matter of country's prestige, and that the Supreme Court should come down heavily on any person interfering with the process. Now, the Supreme Court took into account all these arguments and noted and observed that, in fact, the country should have the benefit of hosting the FIFA event and that it will be of help to the under-17 players. And towards that end, made very clear directions that it is allowing time to centre to conduct further negotiations and talks with FIFA. Towards that end, time has been granted till Monday. So that's August 22nd. That's when the Supreme Court will hear this matter once again. And in the interim, the Supreme Court has directed the centre to take a proactive role for lifting the FIFA suspension. Again, the Supreme Court reiterating that this will be significant, not just for India's prestige, but also for the football ecosystem as well as for the under-17 ecosystem. So towards that end, centre being put on notice, centre assuring that there has been some breakthrough, more clarity on 22nd of August when the Supreme Court hears this matter once again.
All right, Ashmit, thanks a lot for getting us the latest. We're going to wait by and see how those talks progress. And of course, like Ashmit pointed out, the next Supreme Court hearing is on the 22nd of this month. That is Monday. But staying with football, after teasing Manchester United fans with a tweet stating that he would be buying the football club, Tesla boss Elon Musk has clarified to Bloomberg that he will not be buying any sports teams and that his tweet published earlier was only part of a long-running joke on the social network. Musk, who has a history of joking and trolling the media on Twitter, also published a tweet later saying that stand-up is my side hustle, leaving fans of the football club rather disappointed as the club, like we know, currently stands at the bottom of the Premier League after 2 games played amid allegations from fans of mismanagement and the current owners using the football club as a cash cow. So, Nisha, never really a dull day with Elon Musk on Twitter.
Never a dull day for Elon Musk, but I would say for an M&A reporter like me, you know, it is very confusing at times that he's only window shopping, shows interest, and finally he says that I'm not buying. Twice it has happened, and we'll watch out for more fun on Twitter on this one. But something on sports as well as business. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Well, that may not be the case for the corporate bigwigs here in India. My colleague Yash Jain managed to sneak in while the Indian C-suit played the game of bridge. Take a look.
It's an unusual Saturday morning for India Inc. Unusual? That's because not every day you get to see a group of India's top corporates coming together in a room, not to discuss business strategies, but to play a game of bridge. Warren Buffett, a bridge buff himself, once said that he wouldn't mind going to the jail if he had 3 more cellmates who played the game bridge. So, what makes this game of bridge so popular? amongst financial investors and the corporate world.
My father is a champion, and I would call him a bridge legend, as was my grand uncle. But it was only after him that during COVID that I got interested in the sport. And it was my mother who inspired me. She said, you have to keep the family legacy going. So I took on bridge for 3 reasons. 1, to play with my mother. 2, it's a fantastic game. And 3, and most importantly, it keeps your mind alert as you enter into your older ages.
When I went to IIT Powai, there it was a very popular game in the hostel. So there also I learned some tricks. Mind games is only chess and bridge. Bridge is more popular because if you lose, you can always blame the cards. If you win, it is your good performance. In chess, you can't do it.
But when you're on the table, there is only one unwritten rule. Nobody talks work. But the game of bridge itself is such an elegant balance between work and passion.
I think it's a great mind game, and it helps you to sharpen your own focus. I think it's something which I enjoy playing, although I don't get that much time.
Bridge derives out of logic and math and statistics, and all your business decisions derive out of logic, math and statistics. In bridge, you have to keep on working out the probability and play to your best chance in the probability, and so is it in business.
Back home, industry stalwarts like Deepak Parekh, Shiv Nadar swear by bridge. Well, after all, it's a game which lets them do what they're best at, that is practicing and perfecting winning strategies. For CNBC-TV18, Yash Jain.
All right, that was definitely fun to watch, and it seems like our colleague Yash has also had quite the time. But with that, we're completely out of time on this edition of Business Lunch. From Nisha, me and the entire team, thank you for tuning in. Midcap Radar is up next.